Hello and welcome to Enquire to Choir. My name is Eva and I'm here to help you, fellow choir people. First, to address the elephant in the new room, I suppose it is quite a big shock when it comes to colors of this channel, but as the song goes, it's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life. So maybe this room, this apartment doesn't have any clefts on the walls like the previous one, but it does have a huge poster of the Ramones, and the Ramones are actually mentioned here on the channel in one of the previous videos, so it's all connected. So this video, I couldn't think of a better title for this video, but I'm not completely sure that the title really explains what this video will be about, if that makes any sense. I often see, and I have done the same thing during my career, that directors give new music to the choir, chosen on a very superficial basics. Something along the thought, oh, it would be so fun for my choir to sing this, or my choir should sing this. And they just take a quick look at the score and give the score to the choir, and that's all. However, as you probably know, while we are working on the score with our choirs, we encounter many problems, many issues, unpredicted difficulties. Some of them solvable, some of them less so. While, of course, you can't always have the perfect process that's natural, I realized that some of the issues happened because I, as a choir director who chose the score, didn't think about the score in advance thoroughly enough. Basically, I could have predicted some of the things. And I could have saved my choir from many pains sooner and less painfully. And let's be very honest here. I think we all have been in a situation when we give the score to the choir, and during the process of working on it, in the middle of the process, we realize that it was the wrong score to give to our choir. But it's too late to back out now. So the score becomes really difficult. You really struggle, you try to figure it out, but somehow it's just not working. Sometimes you can't know in advance, and it is true that the choir structure and the response of the choir sound can be unpredictable. I mean, that's the point of music. You can't control it all of the time. But I still think that a more thorough analysis, the initial analysis of the score, before it is given to the choir, can solve a lot of issues and can project a better future for it. It could be especially beneficial to you because probably you're both directors and conductors at the same time. Knowledge is power, and during my career, I realized that the better I know the score, but I really know it, not just knowing the lines and knowing the parts and knowing the music. If I really analyze what is going on, especially after some years of experience, when I learned what the possible issues could be, that gives me so much power. All I can say that I witnessed many times that it saved me and my choirs. So in today's video, I'm going to do the very same analysis of a choir piece that I do for any new choir piece I give to my choirs in my work time. I want to show the amount of information you can get by only looking at the score without having a choir in front of you yet, without having any reference to it, without even listening to the song sung by someone else. I don't even have a piano here. And I want to do this kind of analysis because I know that many of you here on the channel don't have the luxury of always having equipment in any way. But it is possible to be really prepared for the rehearsal or for the new music score without even having a choir in front of you. This is the whole point of the video. The amount of information you can get from just looking at the score is truly astonishing. And I want to show how far that can take you. I know it is March and the beginning of spring, but the piece I'm going to do this analysis for in this video is Joy to the World, a famous Christmas carol. I know not everybody celebrates Christmas and not everybody in the world knows this song, but I think the general knowledge of this song existing is quite high. Plus, I now ask of you to acknowledge this very important fact. Here on YouTube, I have to be very careful about copyrights, and Joy to the World and the arrangement, the choral arrangement it is mostly sung in, is in public domain, which means I don't have to ask any permission to work on it and show anything of it for you. I aim for this analysis to be extremely useful. Information about the tempo, about the way you're conducting, about possible issues, about possible solutions as well. So I hope you watch it till the end because everything connects at a certain point of this analysis. I will agree that at some point it could be too detailed and too complicated, but I think just watching it and seeing this way of thinking could benefit you. And if I get too engineering, please forgive me. Okay, first of all, you need to know the general info about the score. And when you give the new score to your choir, you should inform them about the authors and the circumstances about the score. So the context, the lyrics, the function, etc. So Joy to the World is an English Christmas carol. It was written in the 1719 by the English minister and hymn writer Isaac Watts. The carol's lyrics are a Christian reinterpretation of Psalm 98. It is usually sung to an 1848 arrangement by the American composer Lowell Mason. However, it is often connected with Handel, Georg Friedrich Handel, because the melody for it is named Antioch and is attributed to him. As a fact, this is debatable how much of the melody is actually his. If you've been connecting it so far with his oratorio, Messiah, you're not far away from the fact because there are similarities in every way. The reason why it is joy is because the king has come. Everyone loves it, both to listen and to sing. The arrangement in question, so done by the American composer Lowell Mason, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, that very arrangement we'll be analyzing today. Please notice the state of my choir music from which I first started to analyze it a few years ago. We can agree that it's not so pleasant to look at, especially when it comes to the lyrics not being readable enough. And that's why I transcribed them to look like this. The process of writing choral music scores in the program, in a computer program, will be shown in the next video. If you heard, the general plan for this channel is to start a new tradition, which is called regular videos, and regular videos every Sunday. So next Sunday, there will be a video about how to functionally write choral scores in one of the programs. So let's start with music. We are sure we're not in any copyright infringement because you as a performer, you also have to be careful about that, okay? So the first question we have to ask is, how is this sung? A cappella or with accompaniment? Does it say in the score? It doesn't. And one of the biggest advantages of this arrangement is that it works both ways, really amazingly. In this analysis, I will work on this like it is sung a cappella. Just because it's harder for the choir to sing, you have to watch your pitch. I have to say that this analysis not only affects the way you will work on this piece, but it affects the way you will warm up your choir for this piece. It is all connected. If you have watched any of the videos about the topic of choir warm-up, you will probably remember that I said a lot can be done when it comes to choir warm-ups, because during choir warm-ups you can practice the music that is in your repertoire. So let's analyze. So for me, the first time I stand in front of my choir and I have to organize what is going on with the score, I will have to conduct it right away. When I look at the general things about the score, I can figure out how to conduct it in general. Plus, if I figure out in general how to conduct it, then I can get the general sense of the score and what it's supposed to sound like. So let's go together through the whole piece. Notice there is a single unit, and it's a single verse repeated 3 times with different lyrics. The melody consists of different phrases. From general practice, I know that the so-called second part is usually repeated. So there is a repetition. That is something I have learned from hearing other choirs singing it. And actually, it makes so much sense. When it comes to the conducting, I first look at the time signature. In this case, it is a crossed C, or 2-2. This is very important because if you don't notice that it's a crossed C, you would count 1, 2, 3, 4, which really diverts you from the correct way of singing this, because it takes more time to sing 1, 2, 3, 4, and the meter is different from the way 1, 2 is sung. And the time signature suggests that this is 1, 2, 1, 2. So now I know that I have to conduct this as a double measure, and that affects the tempo, because the tempo is more active, and that dictates the way I'm going to give the beginning conducting sign. So for them to start correctly, my singers to start correctly, they have to enter on the first beat. That means they take a breath on the second beat before that first beat. So I have 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. They have to sing joy to the world. Okay, so on the first. If I want them to arrive correctly on the first, they have to take the breath on the second before that. So 1, joy. But even now, I was late. It just seems a bit too short. It makes sense that I give them at least 1 bar before that. In total 2 bars. So 1, 2, 1, joy to the world. Okay? 1, 2, 1, joy to the world, na 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 na. I have to stop myself from singing this all of the time. Also, what I can figure out from this time signature is that my conducting should be more active. We talked about this in the choir conducting video. It's not a lyrical piece. It's a celebratory piece. The tempo is active, the energy is very active. I can't, or I shouldn't, conduct like this. 1, 2, 1, 2. That is too slow. It has to be firmer and more direct. So 1, 2, 1, 2. Joy to the world, na 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 na. Okay? That immediately gives you a lot of the information about the way you should conduct this. You know the beginning, and you know the general character. From that time signature, it also becomes obvious that the quaver pauses are not that big, and everything written when it comes to rhythm moves faster than anticipated. That indicates to me that at some point I will have to warn my choir that the pauses written are not really pauses. They're just the place they have to take a breath. Additionally, from the way the score is written, it's obvious that the breaths they will be taking are going to be necessarily taken quickly. By that, I mean this. During the pauses, they don't have the time to end the previous breath and take the next breath. The process has to be automatic. It shouldn't be joy to the world, the Lord is come. Letter, they will be late. Na 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 na. Okay, it has to be automatic. That means that the diaphragm will be working, has to be working. This affects the way you have to warm up your choir, because it makes sense that during the choir warm up you will work on this. You will give them drills that will activate the diaphragm in a quicker way. And again, if you have watched any of the videos about choir warm-ups here on the channel, and there is a whole playlist up there, you may remember that I said that you can design your own choir warm-ups and choir exercises and choir drills to help you with your current music. In this particular case, for this score, it makes sense to work on that kind of breathing. Why would I spend 10 minutes working on long breaths with big inhales and wide inhales and a lot of time and a lot of air when the song they're singing is very quick and doesn't provide the time for it? When you look at the score as a whole, you can see there is a lot of longer and shorter punctuated rhythm, which is something that can really negatively affect the choir's consistency in tempo. So my analysis tells me that I have to immediately intervene if I notice that during the initial reading of the score, the rhythm is not precise. If I don't intervene at the very moment this starts happening, I will be in trouble, and the choir will be in trouble as well. The way of singing this score could be really wrongly taught, and the choir and myself could have huge issues every time we sing the score, because when we were first learning it, I didn't intervene and I let them not take the correct approach. Okay, so now on a more positive note, let's see the key. I believe this is the original key. Let me know if I'm wrong. And in this case, it is D major. A key known to be very bright, lively, celebratory, and energetic. And if you connect it with the lyrics and the context in which this is usually sung, that indicates, to me at least, that changing the key should be avoided, because it could really affect the whole energy of the score negatively. It could really become a really different song if you change the key. That is something you should be aware of. Okay, and now let's look at the range of the vocal parts. Why? Because I want to determine which vocal range I have to cover during the vocal warm-up in order to give the best chance for this score to be greatly performed. I do that by first analyzing every voice part's range, and so we go through each of the melodies and find the highest and the lowest note. By looking at the score, it turns out the soprano range is from D4 to D5. The alto range is from C sharp 4 to A4. The tenor range is from F sharp 3 to D4, and the bass range is from G2 to A3. Why is this important? Because you have to know how to warm up your choir if you wish to be as prepared as you could possibly be to sing the score with the greatest opportunity. By defining the separate parts range, it turns out the whole score has a range from G2 to D5. The female chorus sings from C sharp 4 to D5 cumulatively, and the male chorus from G2 to D4. When it comes to vocal warm-ups, the male chorus usually sings an octave below the female chorus. So when you, for example, play the piano during the warm-up, you don't go through male and female chorus separately. You mostly play in the right hand in the octave of the female chorus and the left hand in the octave of the male chorus. If you remember, when it comes to general vocal ranges of each voice, you know that you can pair sopranos and tenors together and altos and basses together because they have a similar range, just in different octaves. And if you connect this with the fact that it's good practice to broaden the range a bit from the needed range to be sung for a piece, it turns out that sopranos sing from C4 to E5 for the warm-up. Similarly, the tenors you can broaden more to be similar as them from C3 to E4. And for the altos, it can be from C4 to B4. For the basses, from F2 to B3. And all connected defines the whole range of the choir warm-up. That is to be done for this score. So you take a vocal exercise and you go through the range. And for this case, it is like this. Sopranos and altos start at C4, while tenors and basses start at C3. You ascend semitone by semitone, and at arriving to B, in sopranos and altos, that is B4, and in tenors and basses, it is B3. You say to altos and tenors to stop singing and wait for their cue to start singing again. Sopranos and tenors continue the warm-up until arriving to E5 for sopranos and E4 for tenors. That is the peak. And then they start to descend. At the same point, B4, B3, the altos and basses join in again. But when arriving to C4, C3, sopranos and tenors get the cue to stop singing, while altos and basses continue. For altos, it is debatable. They could stop or continue, but in this case, I would tell them to continue until they arrive together to F3 for altos and F2 for basses. Of course, I'm going to connect this range with the range of all of the other repertoire they're singing, but this way I know my bass, and I know it forever. The next step would be to analyze each vocal part to see what the melody looks like and what the possible issues could be. Beware that we're considering this to be a cappella, which means we have to take extra care to maintain the pitch. Let's start with the sopranos. If you look at it closely, you can see a prominent use of a D major scale, mostly sung downscale in various rhythms. C. Also, there is upscale, ascending from A to D, and several critical jumps from D to A, from F sharp to D, and even from D to the upper D. What I would do for the warm-up is to design these exercises. The first one has descending plus a jump plus ascending. And the other one practices the jumps. From these two drills, I have covered all of my soprano basses. When it comes to the alto part, by analyzing it, you quickly realize that the main tone, everything revolves around F sharp. Plus, a lot of the time, altos sing a third lower than the sopranos. So I have two drills as well. The first one imitates most tonal situations from the score. And the second one, sopranos and altos sing together, also completely imitating the situation from the score from the very beginning. This combination also works for tenors and basses to sing with them. Speaking of tenors, let's look at their part. It has a prominent jump A to D and vice versa, plus holding the same tone. Additionally, at the end, a triad, which sounds familiar as the soprano drill we designed. This means that I can totally use the soprano drills for tenors as well, which is win-win. It's all starting to make sense, at least in my head. So I start by overanalyzing, and at a certain point, it becomes more connected because that's the way the arrangements work. The overanalyzing can't go endlessly. It has to have a focal point. And finally, the basses. They jump around, but not just anywhere. D, G, A in various combinations, which makes sense because Those are the main function harmonies in D major. The first, the fourth, and the fifth tone of the scale. For that, I designed this drill. The basses also have an octave jump, so the soprano drill, mentioned before, works for them as well. Same as the tenors, they tend to hold the same tone several times as well. When you see something like this, that a certain issue, the certain way of singing is repeated. For example, the tenors and the basses hold the same tone, you try to connect it. And if you look at their relations, the tenors and basses are mostly in fifths or in octaves. So why not sing something like this? Additionally, if you look at all the parts and their relations, you figure that a prominent setup is this one. So why not combine the previous one with this setup and do something like this? I have also designed this one, which is a lot of jumping around. So going from the same tone to the octave and going back, or going from the same tone in unison to a chord and going back each way. Just to make myself clear, so you design a vocal drill and you take it as a regular vocal drill. It's just a regular warm-up, but the drill is designed by you to help you for the score in question. Remember that analogy about the push-up? If you want to do better push-ups, you don't have to practice push-ups all the time. You can do some exercises for your arms, just for your arms, and then try push-ups along those exercises. Everything connects and helps together. And now when we are done with the main analysis of the melodies, let's look at the lyrics because it's a big deal. The rhythm is actually complicated and the lyrics are too. Special mention goes to the word heaven. Heaven and nature sings. And my favorite, while fields and floods, rocks, hills and plains. English is not my mother tongue. That is like, and imagine having a choir that doesn't know how to speak English. Also, another possible issue is the fact that the voices repeat motifs among themselves. I'm talking about repeat the sounding joy. How clever, repeat, and they repeat. This is also very likely to cause trouble in tempo. So I would practice this by only doing lyrics in rhythm and tempo without pitch, like this. Joy to the world, the Lord is come, let earth receive her King. Na, na, na. So without pitch. Also practice the transitions, ending of the verse to the repetition. So from the word sing to end, from joy to repeat, from love to end. And of course, from ending of the verse to the beginning of the new one, sing to joy, joy to he. It is very useful if you mention to the choir, they should remember the first words of each verse, joy, joy, and he. They can even write those words next to the last words in the lyric, in the verse. When it comes to all of the other general things, the main thing about this score is you have to practice the stamina. When you connect it to the context in which this originates from, this is the 18th century. There are not huge crescendos or decrescendos. There's just a block of forte, a block of piano. The general dynamic is usually the beginning is louder, just the middle is a bit softer, and ending of each verse is louder. And there's no ritenuto because it's not in the style So it goes really in tempo, no variations. And usually it just at the end, for the cadence to happen, you slow down a bit, which you have to conduct. You emphasize a bit and finish. The best part about this particular score is once they learn it, once you practice it well enough, it sticks with the choir. It doesn't matter how much time has passed, it always sounds great and they always love to sing it. There is something about that score, that particular melody, which makes it really timeless. And in my opinion, that speaks of its brilliance. Smart people. So I'm sure that was a lot of information, and I'm sure that you will have to watch this video several times to get what I was saying at all, maybe. But the point of this video is for you to get the gist of it. It's about looking at the score, predicting, and being prepared. By knowing the score this thoroughly, you are prepared for every situation. And even if something completely unprecedented happens during working on this score, you will know your way out because you know it so well, but you know it in a particular way. Plus, the more analysis you do on various music scores, it becomes second nature and much easier. Along the way, after some time, after some seasons, you will recognize that certain things repeat themselves. There is not an endless combination of possible issues. With experience, it becomes much easier and much more obvious. So that's it. That was the video, the comeback video. It was a long one, but I'm sure you are used to it by now. It's been 5 years of this channel already, so I know you know about my talking. I just wanted to say that I hope you're doing well. I really really hope that you are safe in the world. It's a complete luxury to be able to work with my choirs again. I feel like myself again. So I'm really grateful to be so privileged. As I mentioned before, new videos every Sunday. Let's start that tradition. Thank you for being here. If you wish to see more from Enquire to Choir, you can watch all the other videos here. There are a lot of them. You can subscribe. If you have any questions, you can put them down in the comments or you can email me. And that is it. Sundays from now on are the days when we meet. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here, and conduct well, conductors, and I'll see you next time. Bye!